Hello again, friends, and you are all my friends, and welcome to your Matchday Ticket Live with me, your host, Martin. I'm aka the Governor. This is the Talk in Town Bar. The doors have been flung open, and we welcome you all to another Matchday Ticket. So, this is, of course, the best show in Suffolk, nay, the world, nay, the universe. I think you get the gist. On the jukebox tonight is Samantha Mamba. Always come back to your love. What a tune that is. Gold Digger by Kanye West and Run DMCA, Walk This Way. I've ruined that. Steve, save me, because you are also on the jukebox tonight. Bass player of a fantastic band. Welcome in.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
Not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all. I'm pleased the bar is back open. I'm pleased you're here to join me. Do you want to know what's on the specials tonight?
Go on, give me the specials.
We've got St McGavin's Crusade, Di Cornell's Welsh Wizardry, and Hawkins' Giraffe Laugh.
Put me down for some of Cornell's. I'll have that.
Absolutely. I can see already in the comment section some comments are flying in. Before I welcome in my second guest, my second contributor, I'll just fly through some of these. Emerson Fairweather, good evening. Joe Dickerson, hello all, come on town. Joe Green, a very young lineup. That is correct. We'll get into that in a jiffy. Daniel, anyone for a Papa John's Pizza Cruncher? Cruncher is buying. Heard they're getting good business. George, we think Lambert doesn't care about the competition. The Crawley manager is not taking charge today, instead summarising for their local radio. Stunning.
That's amazing. That is fantastic.
I didn't get that invitation, quite evidently. They didn't want me. So let's bring in the man that won't be playing City Skylines tonight. He'll be putting that controller down and averting his eyes to the front of the bar because it is that man again, man, myth, legend, Mr. Neil Mowles. Neil, welcome in.
Hello there.
How are we?
Amen.
Superb.
You've got a little bit of a disadvantage in the sense that I can see the reflection in your glasses. So do indeed put the game down, Neil.
Actually, it's the eye folly.
I was on to you last time, and I'm on to you again. So, the team's on the screen for those to see. We want to get some comments in the comment section on what you think about that team. I'm going to reserve my comment on it until I've heard individually from both of yourselves there. Steve, kick us off. It's a youthful-looking team. It's a young team. What can you say about it?
I don't know how to react to that one, to be honest. I knew he was going to go some youth, or I sort of had that feeling. But all youth, apart from Cornell, it's a bit of a surprise. It's interesting. It'd be good to see how people like Ndaba get on, Simpson as well, and obviously Bennett's. So intrigued, but I'm not 100% on it, to be honest.
No, Neil, what do you think?
Well, I was looking at from top down, and I thought Cornell, captain, and then started looking at some of the other names, and it's like, I don't really know half of these.
No, no, I don't think you're going to be alone in that, Neil.
You basically see, well, the only really senior player there is then the captain, so congratulations.
Well, as friend of the show, Jordan Hockley, quite rightly said on Twitter, I don't think Keenan Bennett has ever been called a senior player. But tonight, I think looking at that lineup, he probably is. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to just throw it out there. You're not the only one that's not going to know who's playing, really. Let's be honest. There's going to be quite a few Town fans in the same boat, and it's a get-to-know-you session for a lot of Town fans. Quite frankly, I'm disgusted.
Why has he gone so blasé with throwing that much youth in there? Has he got confidence in them, or is he taking a hit on a defeat tonight, or on a potential, shall I say? What do you think is going on with this?
Well, I mean, winning you go through. That's all I shall say. And then if I was getting this for free, if the club was saying as a big PR stunt of, look, we want to progress in the EFL Trophy, so join us on this journey, get the last game free, or we'll drop £10 into your online spend account if you purchase the game, I'd be all over this lineup. All over it. But they're not. I'm expected to pay £10 tonight for a competition the club quite clearly are giving the middle finger to.
Yeah, Lambert said he's been quite critical, hasn't he, about this competition still going ahead this year. I'm all for giving youth a go. Brilliant, but you got to have some senior players in there as well, especially seeing as we've got quite a break between games as well. Yeah. Keep some senior players in. I mean, Jackson and Norwood are only just returning, so at least have them on the bench or something. Give them a few, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes at the end. I don't see the logic. I think he's trying to take a hit on a defeat here. If we manage to win, it's going to go right back in his face. But if it was a free game, Neil, I'd be, as I've said, because I've watched several of these coming through the ranks. I go to under 23 games, as you know, under 18s games. I've even done match day vlogs from the under 18 games, so I know a few of these players. It's just this is a competition the club should be looking to do well in, and as Steve has rightly said there, we've got some young players that still need game time. For me, Donassia needs game time. Not a young player as such, but he needs game time. McGavin needs more game time. Like, there's still fringe members of the squad, do you feel, that need game time, as well as Gibbs, Viral, Cranes?
Yeah. It'll be good to see these lads, see what they're made of, and what they can give us. But as you're saying, there are players that have pipped these to trying to break into the first team, and they're not getting the game time. No.
We're all sat there this morning excited about Brett McGavin, and he's not there. He's not there, and you feel maybe he should have been there, and he needs that run of game time, and he needs that sort of ability to show what he can do. I know he's going to be expected to maybe step in against Hull, etc., with Andre being suspended, but isn't that even more the reason to get him minutes so he's match fit, instead of hearing the old tired excuse of he's not match fit?
Yeah, people like that. I mean, even like you say, players like Donassia, they're not going to be in the regular squad. But I'd rather see him play than some of the youth who are a bit untried and untested. You need some seniority there and some, not authority really, but players with more match experience than these guys. No doubt they're a talented bunch of guys, but he's just another confusing move from Lambert really, and I don't know what he's on.
Is it a confusing move, Neil, or is it a clear? As a fan, what do you want out of this competition? Now you're no longer in the FA Cup. What do you want from this competition as a fan, first and foremost, Neil?
What do we gain from this competition?
Possibly a trip to Wembley?
Is it a glorious trip to Wembley or just a pointless trip to Wembley?
Well, it's the St Johnston's paint.
I would rather get promoted, to be fair.
Yeah, but you no longer have the FA Cup to worry about. So or the Carabao Cup, obviously he's not in that. So do you, with a chance to progress and stop the run of defeats?
Is this the competition that was a couple of seasons ago, both Portsmouth and Sunderland made the final of, and then had terrible runs in the league?
Well, they both finished inside the playoffs still.
Yeah, but did they make it out of the league?
No, they did not.
Well, then.
You are correct. You are correct. But what do we think about this comment here from Ashley Bell? Evening, Ashley. Hope you're well. I just thought, in a time when they were begging people to donate their season ticket refunds, remember that, they're throwing another £5,000 fine down the toilet.
Yeah, that's silly. Yeah. I've seen a fair bit of that on Twitter as well, because there's obviously that fine for not starting enough. Is it not starting enough senior players or having first team players?
It's the exact same thing here, isn't it? It's this competition. You've got to have a certain number of players that have played a certain number of league games in your 11, and this obviously isn't going to be anywhere near it, because half these lot won't play again in the next league game. So unlike the last fixture where we thought maybe a few could, I'd struggle to see Crow, Ando, and Darber and Smith as your back four, for example, come the next league game. But let's turn it on its head.
What are you expecting from these lads then? Out
was my
of
next
them
question.
names that you see there, who do you think is going to stand out? Who do you think? What are you expecting, Martin?
I'm glad you've asked that question because I have recruitment specialist Luke Penning. Neil Mowles has read the script. I love it. I love it when he gets a memo. Luke, welcome into the show, my brother. Youthful looking side. As Neil just asked there, what do you expect from today's 11? Run us through some names that Town fans at home eating their whatever meal they're eating can expect.
Yeah, I think you can expect, as anyone would really, with players coming out of the academy, that they're going to be hungry, that they're going to want to prove themselves, and potentially get opportunities like this. You look at Crawley's side. I think they've got a couple of players that have played in the first team for them. People like Tom Dallison, Stuart Nelson, who came on the weekend at 39. But in terms of Ipswich, you've got people like Dylan Crowe, who's been talked up for many years, interested with Arsenal and Liverpool a couple of years back. You've got Levy or Levi Ando, where you pronounce it. He was signed in January last year. Dutch-born defender, spent time around non-league football. Most recently come back from a loan at Lowestoft, I think it was yesterday. You've got Tommy Smith in there, who we saw throughout pre-season. Alan Viral, Liam Gibbs, and Xander Sisba, who I actually did a video on recently on my YouTube channel. It's on my Twitter at the moment, so if anyone wants to watch it and kind of see what they can expect from people like Xander Sisba, then feel free to watch it. Obviously, you've got Ross Crane that came on in the game against Gillingham. We signed him from Bury Town in the summer. He's a player that the club have put a lot of faith in and has seemed to have done well, playing, I think, consistently for the under-23s this season. Obviously, we know a fair bit about Keenan Bennett and Harry Simpson. In terms of the subs, from what I can remember anyway, you've got Matt Healy on there. He plays a lot for the under-18s. Albie Armin, who I actually have done a video on today. I think it came out around 3 o'clock. That's a pinned tweet. He's a left backer. He captained the under-18s in the FA Youth Cup. So there's a lot of players involved. Obviously, Zach Brown on the bench as well. A very fast striker. He's very clinical. Scored a couple of weeks back in a very good comeback win. So what I kind of expect is a lot of players that, some of which have actually played quite regularly in under-23s and under-18s. So there is partnerships there. Obviously, you're looking on your more senior players in terms of professional minutes. People like Cornell, Nadaba, maybe people like Simpson and Bennett, that have experience in playing the professional game, to offer a bit of leadership, because obviously you kind of think of, for those that are probably looking at this from the outside, you don't necessarily see the leadership, but you've got people like Ndaba in there. I said Bennett, Simpson and Cornell, who have played first team performances, whether that be in pre-season, in the cups and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's a lot of Ipswich fans talk about having youngsters involved in the first team and haven't seen them progress. And I think this is the best opportunity for them to do so. I guess aside, Crawley, they played on Sunday. They won 6-5 against Torquay in a crazy FA Cup game. They're currently down to one first team goalkeeper, Stuart Nelson, who's in goal at the moment, formerly of Yeovil, 39-year-old. Is there any current fit first team keeper? Because their main keeper, Glyn Morris, got injured. So to get a guy called Toby McGill, I think, from Brighton. He then got a severe concussion on Sunday. It's only really down to Stuart Nelson as a senior goalkeeper. But actually, it should be interesting to see how the match plays out.
And looking at the 11, obviously, who do you feel is more ready to maybe start? As Mike Brown posts here, Mike Brown says, I'm expecting these lads to show Lambert that they should be pushing for the first team. Who out of the 11 do you feel really, honestly, is that close that maybe could start pushing forwards in this season even?
Yeah, I think obviously you come up for people like Ndaba. I'm not really going to touch on as much that much, because I think a lot of us really know what to expect from him. Mm-hmm. I really like what I've seen from Xander Sisba, especially on the 18s of the past year. You could see if those who did watch the Southend game on the weekend, he's the kind of player, you could say a bit like Dobra, like direct running, quick player who likes to take people on and kind of make things happen. Very good at doing that. Obviously, we go back to someone like Liam Gibbs, who I think is on the edge of being in a similar position to people like Brett McGavin now, on where they're knocking on the first door. Liam Gibbs did very the trophy and started last season when I saw him in the under-23s most recently, and obviously the game at Gillingham where he goes after a chance and creates a goal for Fulhami. I think there's players in there that can do that. You look on people like Dylan Crowe, who I think partly, his progress has been halted or hampered due to injury. He's a player that, is going to be up there. Another one I'm going to point out, which some of you might not even know about, is a player called Jack Manley. He's an under-16 Ipswich Town player. I think he was actually called up to the under-16 England squad after he had a really bad injury a couple of years ago. But he most recently got called up to, I think it was the under-16 England squad. And last season when we played Colchester in the EFL Trophy, Lambert name dropped Manley as a player that he really, really liked and a player that he wants to see. So if he does come on, he'll be the second.
What position does he play?
He's a centre foot. Well, he's a number 10, but he can also play on the left. But for me, players that I feel like that could be on the edge of it. Zach Brown as well can play wide, but predominantly plays up front. He's a very fast player who is very good at clinical finishing. And Albie Armin, who I mentioned as well, if he does come off the bench, obviously he plays left back, has abilities at playing as a captain as well, is a good thing. And obviously Tanda Chawira, who we saw a bit of last season in the EFL Trophy, played on the FA Youth Cup last week as well, and most recently signed a professional contract. So there's players out there that can definitely do things.
Perfect. Luke, you're getting a lot of love in the comments. We've got Sid Driver. I could listen to Luke all day. Sod buying the Football League paper when we've got Luke penning. So you're getting a lot of love out there tonight, Luke. And we love you on the show. That's for absolute sure. There was a comment from someone on Facebook that said he was happy with the lineup. I'd like to ask that person why. Drop it in the chat box as to why you're happy with that lineup.
I can't say I'm disappointed with the lineup. It's nice to see a change, and I hope these lads perform.
I joined a little bit late. What are your guys' opinions on the teams, just quickly?
If I wasn't paying for it, Luke, if I wasn't being asked to pay for it, I'd be all over it. But because it's a competition where we're told they can't change the pricing structure of iFollow passes, I'm of the opinion this would be an under 23, under 18 lineup, and I would be allowed down Playford Road with a cup of tea. Yeah,
I would have gone. Yeah, I get what you mean.
For free. To ask me to pay £10, I'm out.
If Lambert's put these guys in purely as a bird to this cup, then that's not good. But if he actually believes these lads can perform, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited to see some players. I just think there's other players that are further along the journey to, or the pathway as they like to call it these days, to the first team, Luke, that maybe needed minutes.
Yeah. You think of people like McGavin maybe, but obviously he played a lot on the weekend. Obviously Dobra is away in national duty, but it would have been good for him to maybe delay it like they did with Baggett last EFL Trophy game he played. Because obviously you think of Dobra, a player that came on in the league against Gillingham, played against the Trophy against Gillingham. It'd be good to have him get minutes in terms of first team, because you think of it, he's been very brave and kind of waiting for a decision or waiting, turning down loan moves. I think one of them was Crawley to get first team minutes. And obviously, we kind of struggle to see where he's going to come in. Obviously, we want him. We know what he is. We know the kind of player he is and what he can do. But it's about thinking about what games he realistically is going to be involved in. I think today, playing a trophy game would have been a good opportunity to do that. Obviously, you think of people like Donasian as well. I know he's slightly older, but he's a player that I actually thought played really well against Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And has done considerably recently, but I always struggle to see why. You always see Kenlock on the bench, but you never see Donasian. And Donasian is kind of a double-edged sword in many ways, and the fact that he can play as a centre half, we haven't really seen it at Town, and right back and left back. So if you're, rather than sticking multiple defenders on the bench, sticking someone like Donasian on the bench, who has shown without playing that many games that he can come in and slot in and be a dependable defender defensively, as well as he's not that astute going forward, but he can put a role in there. And
yeah,
I think
I'm happy Donasian's
better players.
But you say that, Neil, but you're only one kick away from Danassian starting.
Yeah, I know. If Danassian was in that lineup, I'd be more disgruntled about paying a tenner. I can tell you.
But you're one kick away in training from Luke Chambers not being able to play a league game, and you've got another right back at the club. Well, you have, but he's not ready for it.
That's the club being poor in and getting, right back.
But Danassian has to get minutes. And let's be honest, like Luke says there, they played a 90-plus extra time on Saturday at McGavin. It's 11 days between now and the next league fixture. That's a long time in football when McGavin hasn't made a senior start in league, or he may have played in the cup earlier in the season, but he hasn't made a whole
senior start against Fleetwood last season when we were doing horrendous. Half time.
Yeah, I was about this season. I don't think he's other than maybe the EFL Trophy. So 11 days. Like Cruncher says there in the chat, if Lambert plays first teamers and they get injured, we'd be losing our. I don't think we're calling for a 1-11 league. Well, I'm not.
No.
Neil's happy with the lineup. I just wanted to see some players.
Well, if the lads performed better last game, they wouldn't have done all the extra minutes, so they can put it on themselves.
Yeah,
good point.
I just don't want to get into a situation.
If you were to have 3 or 4 players, maybe like that, then you could understand it really. Like if you had a Cornell, a Danassian, a Dobra mixed in with the younger players, then it might, because you see a lot of people on Facebook, that probably or Twitter or wherever, they probably don't, understand the academy that much, and they're kind of like, oh, we're sacrificing this competition. I tend to look at the positives. I think for some it might be a glorified under 23 game, and the fact that there's barely any first teamers playing, and the fact that Crawley's manager's not even taken hold of them. They've got 2 players who are managing Crawley tonight. Their manager's actually on their version of commentary, which is quite an interesting one. So you look from that outset and you think, well, these teams that just don't really want to play in the competition and they're sacrificing the competition because they're playing the younger players. I think it's a positive. Obviously the price of it, £10 is a bit steep. To get into FA Youth Cup games and them kind of things, it's like £5 or maybe less than that, £2.50 at max. So when you look at it and you think, oh, you're playing all these kids and we're paying £10 for it, some people seem to feel like they're being robbed, which is fair enough. But at the end of the day, as the clubs keep saying, they can't really do anything, which I guess is fair. But
that's time out. That's time out on that one. If the club wanted, Luke, they could drop £10 as a bonus into your online account as a goodwill gesture of paying of following the club through the EFL Trophy. We're going to reward those that have purchased the iFollow. There's many things a club could do, I'm sure, to circumnavigate.
They just have to want to do it.
This is it. This is it. I'm just frustrated because I feel if I'm Di Cornell, I've been brought into the club. I want to be a number one. Is this the right environment to showcase I can be number one? I don't think so.
No.
What with a completely unknown back four?
Equally, if I'm a young player, I want to show that I can do well. Am I being given the best opportunity to show I can do well when we're all literally being chucked out to sea and say, swim or drown? Again, I don't know. I'd rather see, as Luke said there, maybe a midfield 3 with in front of a more senior back 4, so it gives them that protection to go and be brave on the ball, go and be them as players. It's just it's almost a football manager lineup, Luke.
The thing is, though, I've seen a few things from Ndaba, and he's looked good. I think he's someone that you could depend on. It's just there's partners next to him. I don't know enough about them or haven't seen enough game time from them to really be able to judge. So, yeah, I think depending on what they play alongside Ndaba, how they play, there is a little bit of trust I have there.
Yeah. Steve, what do you feel about after what you've heard from Luke, the specialist we've got on Talking Town?
I'm still unsure. Like Neil was saying, you sort of know what Ndaba's about now. We've seen enough of him in either under 23s or with the first team in training pre-season. What you were saying about all these kids, you want them to push forward and obviously show what they can do, but they're not going to have that confidence because if they had people like Danassian, Wilson, Wolfenden, Chambers behind them, they'd have more confidence, to push forward and do something. But there's so much youth.
Yeah, James Wilson. I think me, you, and Neil saw James Wilson's last start. I mean, that's how he has been displaced from the team. So you can't tell me he needs a rest. Anyway,
and he was steady. He is a steady player. He might not, blow us away, but has he really done anything wrong to be completely dropped off the planet?
Well,
he's a solid player.
And he would talk somebody through a game. He would talk somebody through a more senior game, and it's a good opportunity to learn from a senior pro.
When the when the Northampton podcaster came on here, he said Cornell was a person that he may seem vocal, but he's not a person that can, really be that vocal, in the sense that if you're having someone like Dylan Crowe, his first professional performance for us, Levi Ando as well, those kind of players that haven't really played professional football, well, in terms of Ipswich anyway, and the kind of higher reaches of the game, and lower league level, having someone like a Wilson, when I thought of this game, I thought, oh, let's stick a Wilson in. He hasn't played for a couple of weeks. It would have been a good, a safe move, having someone like that who's no nonsense, who doesn't try to do anything fancy. If say whoever's playing alongside him in that case, if they made a mistake, he'd be there to do it. The fact that the fact that there isn't someone like that in there, you kind of think like, oh, maybe even sticking someone like Stephen Ward in, who hasn't played for breaks.
If you're going to go with this sort of lineup, how about you sit in the stands, Mr. Lambert, and let Kieran Dyer take charge and let him start cutting his teeth? If you're going to go for this youthful look inside and really treat it, almost similar to how the Crawley manager is treating it, why don't you do that? Like, go the whole hog, or let Matt Gill take control, or whatever. Like, it's almost one foot in the we're not that fast camp with the 1 foot in the we want to win it camp. It's not sure. Right, 2 minutes. Bold prediction. Sorry to cut across you there, Luke. Bold predictions. What have we got? Steve, what are you going with tonight?
2-1 Town. Bennett and Simpson.
Beautiful. Mr. Mowles?
I'd like to say a 3-2 to Ipswich.
Of course. Luke, as you hear, bold prediction, my man.
I'm going to go for 2-1. I'm going to go with goals from Ross, Jack Manley off the bench, and that's a very crazy one. And a goal from Crawley from Tom Dallison, centre half.
Perfect. Right, we're done. We're dusted. We'll see you all at half time for the first half post-mortem. We will see you then.